now we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a team and DJ on the ones and twos. By the name Elzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two. And prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another evangelical episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 510, recorded Sunday, January 5th, 2025. Tonight we're talking about Heretic, a new release from 2024. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., Shaboy Randeezy. What's up, man?
Well, of course, here come the demons.
What's going on, buddy? You ready to get theological in this bish?
I'm ready to worship at my personal church, which is the Taco Bell.
Oh, I assumed you were going to say something about Blu-rays because we all know that is the true religion.
The Blue House. The one true religion is the 4K, the clarity, my sweet Lord. Next up, calling in from Florida, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy. I've got a perfect body. I've got a perfect soul. 'Cause I am Stains. What up?
Not exactly in the spirit of the original song.
I'm a winner.
Hell yeah.
I truly belong here.
What the fuck am I doing here?
That line stays the same.
Yeah, that one.
Hell yes. Also joining us, welcoming her back onto Straight Chilling, our good friend Nicole. What's up, Nicole?
Hey guys. Just stopping by, knocking on your door to see if you've heard the good news of our Lord and Savior DJ Elzebub. I'm here to convert you if not.
May he rest in retirement.
Right. Thanks for sitting in with us again, Nicole. It's always a pleasure having you on. And you had been taking sort of a deep dive into religious horror films. So we thought this would be kind of a perfect opportunity to have you sit in with us. I know you definitely got a kick out of this movie, and we're looking forward to talking about it with you. But for those that maybe are new listeners to the show and don't know about you and your own podcast, why don't you let them know what you're up to?
Sure. Yeah. So my show is called Light and Shadow. I do monthly episodes. And like Bob said, for the past year and a half, 2 years, I've been doing specifically a religion and horror deep dive. I have a really extensive sort of like religious background. I was raised in church, but at the same time I was watching horror movies. And so I'm really interested about the intersection of those two things. And so I've done some solo episodes, had some guests on, and it's been really fun. I'm definitely excited to talk about this movie and kind of the fresh perspective that I think it brings. But I'm sort of leaving that behind for 2025, and the focus of the show is going to be, for the time being, we're calling it Fundamental Frights, and I'm going to be talking to people about like their quote unquote favorite horror movies. So like the first horror movie you saw, the ones that got you into the genre, your guilty pleasures, your comfort horrors. Basically, I want people to come on and just be super excited about like horror movies that they love and talk about kind of like horror movies that were formative to you specifically in your journey with the horror genre. So I'm excited to do that. I probably won't leave religion behind completely. I'm sure that like I'll make a return to that at some point, but I'm excited to
Burn in hell.
Anyway, excited to explore a new topic. So, yeah, so come check me out on, your favorite podcatcher. You can find me, Light and Shadow.
Can't believe you're leaving the faith,
Awesome.
Sister Nicole.
I'm a heretic. What can I say?
Damn.
I can't believe you'd want to have people come on your show and not just bitch and moan for an hour. Like, what's wrong with you? Unbelievable.
It's yielded results for us. What can I say?
Sometimes those are the most fun, you know?
Sometimes they can be. That sounds rad, though. Make sure you check out Light and Shadow everywhere you get your podcasts. Show Nicole some love. We do have just a little bit of housekeeping on our end. Let's go ahead and jump into that real quick. We do have our February poll currently posted on our Patreon website. And if you guys support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this February. Theme for February is modern science fiction movies, and the movies you're voting between are Dark City, Signs, and The World's End.
Whoa, Bob, how those numbers looking?
Hey, we got numbers. We got some numbers here.
2025.
I
Let's
know.
First
go.
numbers of 2025.
We got them. The World's End sitting at 9%. Not much interest there.
Whoa.
Dark City second place, 30%, and Signs is definitely on top with 61% of the vote.
Whoa.
God damn.
I think that
People
was
are
your
ready to
call,
get back
Bob.
on.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I thought The World's End would get a little more love, but I thought Signs would be on top for sure.
I really didn't anticipate Dark City to be not taking up the rear. I assumed that's a
Well.
poor phrasing on my
Yeah.
part. but
I thought it would be taking up the rear.
I thought it'd be
real
taking
hard.
right up the
Taking
tailpipe.
Taking it.
I'm lobbying for Dark City. I'm officially throwing my hat in the ring for Dark City.
That's a
Oh,
bit of
boy.
a cult classic, as I
Huh?
believe.
Yeah.
It's just a movie that I haven't heard a lot of discussion about, so
Yeah.
I want to hear
There
it.
you go.
Well, we've
That'd be
got
a good
fresh
one.
perspectives, you know.
We're gonna be breaking the mold.
Completely original. I promise you. Promise you that.
Why is
Get
this
those
movie
votes
so
in.
dark?
I premise.
There's a lot of city in this film. I don't know why.
God damn.
Get those votes in for the end of January. We'll see what we're talking about this February. And we're still dropping minicasts every other Friday. We just had one drop last Friday, the 3rd, on Asriel Juice. You were talking about that. It's currently on Shudder.
Yeah, that was one of the highlights for me from 2024, and it was a film that was on our last poll of things we missed. I don't think it got a lot of love on that poll either, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and cover it and talk about my love for it a little bit. So yeah, that's fresh up there for you to listen to.
Well, I'm
Check
glad that
it
Heretic
out.
ended up winning, if not Azrael, because either way, Nicole was going to be a must-have guest on either one. So we had promised Azrael to you, I think, at one point.
Oh, really?
And we put it on a poll, and
Oh,
well,
because y'all first saw it at the Overlook.
right.
I
Okay.
actually haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
we
okay.
saw it, and we're like, Nicole, you
Um,
have to come on and talk
Yeah,
about this.
I remember getting texts about it in my absence.
I see.
It's a good one. It's definitely worth checking out. Make sure you slam that minicast into your ear holes. It's currently available. Next up on Friday, the 17th of January, we're dropping a minicast on Red Rooms. That's one that I'm talking about. Another one that we were able to see at the Overlook Film Festival, and it was one of my faves of the festival. From Quebec, it's a French language film, and it's largely a courtroom drama. It's about a young model who sort of becomes obsessed with this court case that's ongoing about an alleged serial killer who has kidnapped and murdered 3 young teenage girls and it has like a webcam set up as he does it, and he streams these to what's known as a red room on the dark web. And
Whoa.
yeah, it's dark material, but it is a really solid horror film. Definitely one worth checking out if you haven't seen it.
Big
I think you
popcorn
can.
flick.
Yeah, it's a heavy one. Don't not fun for the whole family exactly. Just fun for like your weird cousin maybe. That might be about it.
Watch out for
But
that
yeah,
guy.
recommend. Yeah, we all got one. That's pretty much all we got going on with Patreon right now. Do you guys have anything else you need to plug?
Not a damn thing from me. So
I
you
don't think
good?
so. Yeah, I think I'm good.
If you're good, Bob, we're good.
Yeah, our house is clean.
This house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We are talking about Heretic, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
You gonna order this box?
Oh yeah, you can get it. You can get it. You
Oh,
can
do
pre-order
you
it.
have it?
Oh yeah.
No, no, I don't have it yet, but you can pre-order
Oh,
it
you can
on
pre-order it.
A24's website. I think you can get it like on Amazon too. But they're putting out a nice little edition of it. It comes out in like a month or two, something like that.
Cool, cool.
But yeah, Heretic, this was a new release to 2024, rated R with a runtime of an hour and 51 minutes. This was written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. They're co-creators. They work together on quite a few things. I think most famously, they wrote A Quiet Place, but they also directed Haunt, which I think we're all fans of. That's 65 movie, which I've not seen yet. Those are sort of what they're most known for, anyways. And then now this, starring Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, Chloe East, a pretty small cast in this one, and also surprising little cameo from Topher Grace popping up here, which was kind of
Oh
nice.
yeah.
Um, Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows: two young religious women are drawn into a game of cat and mouse in the house of a strange man. We've obviously seen this movie before, but it is a new release, so would you recommend folks check this one out at home? Nicole, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. To me, this felt like a really original story, like something I hadn't quite seen before. I think it has really great tension and it kind of goes beyond some of the religion and horror tropes that we've seen before. So I absolutely would recommend it to any horror fan.
Awesome. Randy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll second that. I think it's pretty. I don't know. Like you get a lot of cult films, you get a lot of movies that touch on horror, on religion and horror. A lot of Catholic horror films in the genre, but you don't get many that just like so directly talk about the issue at hand and do it very effectively. So, yeah, I'd recommend to any horror fan. I think that it actually has probably some tendrils that go beyond that subset as well.
Cool. Juice, what about you?
I actually don't know. I'm really kind of conflicted about this film, to be honest. Definitely more than it sounds like everybody else. And as of right now, I would say that it's not a must-watch horror film for me for 2024. But like I wouldn't sway anybody either. Like it's not one I would say like you gotta rush, you gotta see it, you know. It's not like a substance or like, oh my God, you gotta check this wild shit out. But it's like a curious one, and I'm definitely interested to have the conversation today. But as of right now, I don't think it's like a must watch for me, but an okay watch, I guess. Bob, how about you? Would you recommend people check this one out?
Yeah, I'd recommend it, but maybe wait for it to hit streaming. I don't know that you need to like rent it or buy it outright necessarily. But yeah, I think it's worth checking out for sure. Sounds like maybe
Solid.
a
So,
medium to
yeah,
loose recommend. I don't know. A
yeah.
recommendation. Yeah, check
Sounds
it
like a
out.
general recommendation. Yeah.
I
General
think
rec.
so.
Put it on your television now. But we are going to be
Well,
spoiling this movie. And here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
whoa, Bob, you got that plot synopsis? Does it include the history of the Mormon Church?
Hey,
Does it?
Oh,
oh,
wait,
Hello, would you
whoa.
like to change
Hey.
religions? I have a free book written by Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why Randy
Yeah.
was looking for bumps this weekend. I see.
He's a
Nah,
bump
not
boy.
me.
I didn't put that together with the stuff you were posting on Slack.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
We're going to talk about that later.
I've got the history of every religion ever that I'm gonna go ahead and blast through while I'm
Oh,
running this
okay.
down.
You got the
if that's
history of
all right.
Batman on there,
on that.
right? Definitely,
I
we need
knew
to talk about Batman.
I knew we'd have to get into the Batman of the
I
comparative
thought about
religions
trying to make
101.
my background like a Batman theme thing, but I was like, that's a deep pool. That's a really
You
deep
could
pool.
somehow
That's,
find that
that's
in there.
explicitly from our lives. That's not
I
a
know.
poll for anybody but
Well,
us.
we've discussed it a couple times
We
about
have.
how
Man,
in
if you remember
college
that-
we had a religious class.
If
that
you remember
was,
the origin of that story, you've got a better memory than any of us probably.
Yeah.
that
Our
had
our
Batman in it.
our comparative religions professor in college had an image up on the board that had like I forget, like Buddha and Jesus Christ.
Like,
In
it's
the
like Martin Luther. Yeah, yeah.
in the
Sorry.
middle,
Yeah.
she thought it was the Pope, but it was Batman
It
in
was
his
so
bat
I
suit.
don't know where you find an image
It
like
was
that.
Batman.
I
Yeah.
don't like. I
This is
don't know
before
where.
AI, so you
And
know.
someone raised their hand, was
Wow.
like, "Why is Batman on the screen?" She's like, "What
That
are you
was the
talking about?"
Pope.
He's like in the middle. She's like, "That's the Pope."
Oh,
We're like, "No,
she's like, oh,
that
I
is
thought
Bruce
that was
I'm
the
Wayne,
gonna
though."
Pope.
look for that
Wow.
And she's
right
like, it's like
now.
she had looked at it for the first time.
He-
Like,
So you
Stella.
thought you were gonna get some kind of like clever like social commentary about
What's the
religion, and
point? Yeah,
instead she was just confused. Yeah.
she was
yeah.
demented. Yes.
Studying
She was
religion.
quite old.
He was
Yeah.
like 90.
She was pretty old.
He was.
I think she
Uh,
waited until the very last day, like legit the last day of class, to tell me to stop playing Sudoku. It was like I was like, okay, fair enough.
I'll give you this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of shitting
Here's
on our old professors.
yeah, she was nice. She was fine.
She was nice.
Here's the plot synopsis for Heretic. So, two young missionaries, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, arrive at the seemingly normal home of middle-aged man Mr. Reed. He signed up to hear more about their religion and invites them into the house. He also assures them his wife is in back baking a blueberry pie, as they are not allowed inside alone with a man. They enter and begin discussing religion and the nature of belief. Mr. Reed makes several strange comments, and the girls eventually realize they have no phone signal. They also realize the blueberry pie smell is coming from a candle he lit. The front door is locked and cannot be opened from the inside. The girls eventually follow Reed into a study where he claims all religions are adaptations of one another and that he has found the, quote, one true religion. Reed insists they're free to leave whenever they wish, but they must exit through one of two back doors. One door if they truly still Yes. One door if they truly still believe in God, and another if they do not believe. Sister Barnes quickly pokes some holes in several of his claims, but ultimately enters through the belief door. They go down a long staircase into a dungeon and realize both doors lead to the same place. A decrepit woman appears and eats a poisoned pie. She ends up dying, and Reed says she's a prophet of God, and the girls will witness her resurrection. An elder of their church arrives at the house looking for them, causing a brief distraction, but Reed shakes him off. When the girls return back to the dungeon, they realize the position of the dead woman has changed. The prophet does come back to life and describes the afterlife, which Sister Barnes disregards as a common description provided by people who have near-death experiences. Sister Paxton eventually attacks Reed, leading to him slashing Barnes's throat. He says she too will be resurrected. As she's bleeding out on the ground, Reed removes a small implant from her arm, claiming it's a microchip and that the world is just a simulation. Sister Paxton knows the implant is a contraceptive and that Reed is definitely full of shit. She also knows he orchestrated the alleged resurrection. She claims there was another woman who came down and took the place of the dead prophet, who recited the lines Reed wrote but added at the very end, "It's not real." And that Reed's killing of Barnes and the whole simulation theory thing was just an improvisation to cover up his plan A gone awry. Paxton finds a trap door leading to a tunnel where the prophet's corpse was hidden. Reed promises if she goes down the door, she will find the one true religion. Paxton finds a door locked with her bike lock, which she still has the key. Beyond it, she finds several emaciated women in cages. Reed finally explains the one true religion is control. Paxton stabs Reed with a letter opener and he stabs her back. She flees and then ends up praying, explaining to Reed that prayer is a kindness given to others and is not done to produce material results. Before Reed can kill her, Sister Barnes appears and kills him with a plank of wood before she dies herself. Sister Paxton escapes through a window and a butterfly lands on her hand. She previously explained she wanted to be reincarnated as a butterfly to visit her loved ones after she died. The butterfly then vanishes, leaving Paxton alone in the snow. Roll them credits.
Yeah.
I believe.
I believe.
I believe.
Believe.
You got them blueberry
Yes.
pie specs? What are y'all doing? What kind of poisons you lacing your pies with these days?
Whoa.
What's
Ooh,
on the
cinnamon.
TikTok?
Maybe some
Right, there's
nutmeg.
Gotta be a TikTok. A little nutmeg. You're crazy. You're wild, man.
I know. I get crazy.
Yeah, this is an interesting movie. Definitely, Nicole, kind of like you were getting into at the top of the show there. This does, it's very much like a religious horror film, but it is not like the typical, like Catholic based, exorcism driven type horror movie. It's something a little bit different. But how did this hit you? How'd you find this movie?
I mean, I was really interested from the very first trailer,
Mm,
just to see how it was going to unfold. And very clearly, I mean, it's going to be a movie about like challenging faith ideas. That's like very much on the surface. And you just never know
Mhm.
what you're going to get from those movies. Um, and I was really interested just to see like, okay, is this basically going to be a like religion bad, just organized religion bad, or is it going to have more to say? And so I personally was like delighted by the fact that I feel like they did go further than that. That was sort of the initial setup with him questioning them and he had his arguments and it's kind of stuff that we've all heard before. Um, but I felt that, I mean, that was probably maybe the first quarter or half of the movie. Um, and then I was really impressed by the complexity of both the two missionaries and his character. And I just didn't know beyond like the halfway point. I was just like, okay, where are we going? Like I'm interested. I feel like we're
mm.
doing more work, we're digging a little deeper. So that really pleased me quite a bit. Regardless of the outcome, I was happy that I felt like they did more work to like say something deeper.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
wasn't quite just black and white. I think on my first watch, I received it a little more like a black and white type of situation. Like it did feel kind of like a comparative religions 101, and it's like yes, religion is used for control, and like that's the point of the movie. But on a second watch, I think I did find Reed's character a little more complex at the end of the movie when he realizes that he is actually facing his own mortality. Finally he asks for prayer. Like he apparently is a non-believer. He's studied everything, he knows everything, but still at the end of the day, when you're bleeding that around, you want to have the comfort of believing something is in front of you and not just nothingness.
You'll have to
So
believe
yeah,
it just cause.
yeah, I didn't really like his character too much the first time, but I think he grew on me a little bit. And yeah, the Mormons as well. I think the movie opens strong with them talking about like modern day sort of taboo topics, pornography and the
Mhm.
sizes of condoms and stuff like this. And I think they were handled in a better way than Reed overall. But still, it's I think there are some depth to all of the characters here, and I found that refreshing and maybe not what I was anticipating before going into the movie. I definitely didn't think I was gonna hear some Mormons talk about giant condoms and like watching someone's soul leave their body in a porno. Like
Didn't.
crazy shit.
That is one of the funnier moments of this movie to me. I don't know, like it does kind of start off with this feeling of it being like I kind of feel like there's a version of this movie that could have come out like 15, 10, 15 years ago that would have been like an atheist YouTuber's favorite movie. Like this is like where Hugh Grant's like basically what you described, Rob, as your first take on it, which is that yeah, okay, religious control, and this guy's just kind of controlling a script here or whatever and doing all these things. And it's like, yeah, but I think that there is a little bit of extra to it. They allow the ambiguity of the ending to exist, and I think that's an important thing to add because it to me like the idea of trying to explain the unknown, all that stuff, like that's all still valuable stuff, and there's a lot more that is actually being said about like to me the stuff that he's talking about in the beginning kind of stacks into this thing, and I'm parlaying this into some other stuff that I've consumed recently that is like the way that religion as well as like society and belief in general sort of stacks on itself generationally and builds on previous things. I really like that idea. I like that it kind of touches a little bit on that, even if it is in the negative, but it leads somewhere to where you can still find value in that. So I don't know. I like the ambiguity of that.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I did too. That ending I felt like was a little bit brave because of that, because it gives you that option of like belief and it like her belief being validated if you want to take that away from it.
Hmm.
But I think some of the little things that are important is I think that opening scene where they are talking about porn and all that stuff, it just makes them seem like real young women, you know?
Hmm.
And you find out very quickly that they're taking this mission seriously and that they are faithful, but the fact that we immediately get to know them like regular people is really endearing. And then little things like I noticed when she took her coat off that she had that little like scar on her arm, and I was wondering about that. I was like, oh, is that birth control? Is this Mormon
Hmm.
young woman on birth control? And then she also mentions when they're first talking to Mr. Reed in his living room that like her father was Mormon, and then like she and her mom like took a break and they like came back and investigated the faith to find out if they wanted to like rejoin the church. So like those little things sort of made me think that like even if she's like faithful in being a Mormon, like she's still like a real person with complexity. And if she's got
Hmm.
birth control, she's not towing the line on all the rules, you
Hmm.
know. So the little attention to detail of those things, I think, were really, really important in this story.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I
Juice, you're
agree.
being uncharacteristically quiet. What have you got to say on this matter?
I just wanted to let everyone have their time. Not trying to butt in here.
Wow.
I know.
Butt
Oh,
in,
Um,
butt in.
What a guy.
what I would say about this film of why I feel conflicted about this is I agree with some of the things y'all are saying about the setup and the way that these girls at the beginning, these women feel real and like I've known I've heard conversations like this take place. You know, I grew up in the church and not the Mormon church, but I mean just these kind of ideas of people being outside some, sinful situation and trying to justify their thoughts and trying to justify like why they're curious about something or why they would be watching something and making it fit to their worldview and stuff like that. And that all did feel very authentic. And even Hugh Grant's character of trying to wrap his mind around things too. The way he was very obviously like very learned man and like really like seemed like he sought some of these things out, and it was his kind of jadedness that led him to this type of situation. I found like the first half of this film very interesting and set up well. The big problem I have with this film is the payoff did not feel rewarding to me, and where it ultimately led felt like really not as well thought out as the first half did. And honestly, this is going to be a bit of like a lodge situation for me because the way that it plays out is like very nonsensical to me. The whole reveal that he's keeping these people in the basement and one killed themselves and then another one switched the body out, but they would have to like fucking drag a body in a base and like toss it down this thing, but the body wasn't just at the bottom of the stairs. She had to like walk down the stairs and then it was like down the thing. So I was like, somebody dragged a body and tossed it down this well and then like drug it halfway down the hallway and then fucking crawled their ass back up and got in front of the pie and faked like I was like, this is
So it's a
kind of,
mechanical
yeah, it's
issue.
kind of dumb. Well,
Okay.
it's just like the whole explanation
A
was like really
logistical issue.
dumb to get to the point of
mm,
like control is that I control these women, and I was like,
yeah.
the idea is okay. Like, yeah, like I control people like I'm a god and like I'm a psychopath and I'm this type of killer. Like that concept is okay to me, but the whole execution of it was very silly and dumb. And even with the maybe Barnes coming back after he's like sliced into her arm and like pulling on her vein and she kills them with the wood and the butterfly comes down. The whole second half to me was, or like the whole maybe last third where it all has to play out.
Mm.
And he even says, like, do you know what the religion is now? And she has to explain it to the audience because I was like, what the fuck is the religion? Like, she has to be like, it's
What is he
control. She
talking
has
about?
to
Yeah.
like lay it out. And then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
okay. I mean, I
the
guess
key,
so.
the bike key and the bike lock being the literal key to her understanding what the one true religion is was like, jump in the shark, man. I
Well,
need you to know that you're where I
well,
want you to be, so
that's the
you know
one that
I'm in
I would agree
control.
with
I
Yeah,
out
just,
of all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
Who
didn't.
Sorry.
put that bike lock on? Because somebody had to come out of
He
that room.
he did. Like when he was like checking on the pie, he was moving their bikes and
What?
locking the
But
door.
no, no, no,
As
no, no, no. I'm saying like a woman had to come. There's women in the
oh
cage
yeah,
behind the
yeah,
door.
yeah,
Two of them had to come
yeah,
out
yeah,
of that
yeah. You're
space.
right.
I didn't think about
Yeah.
that, but
It
yeah,
doesn't
that's
make
worse
it
than what
doesn't
I was
make a
thinking.
lick of sense.
I was on board with the movie until he
There is a
started talking about
sorry.
the simulation theory stuff, and I was like, this guy's all over the map
No,
now. Like
well,
I thought
yeah.
we were
He's
talking
Yeah,
just
about like
he's
a
just trying
resurrection.
he's trying to do anything he can to get them
Yeah,
to doubt their own perspective. And he finds
Yeah.
yeah,
out, oh, they're not as dumb as I thought they were. They're not as
yeah.
easy to manipulate as I thought they were. So he's just like throwing whatever at the wall, trying to get it to
Anything.
stick.
well,
Yeah.
they clocked him. Basically, like they clocked
Yeah.
him, and also like he didn't anticipate his control would slip with that one person that was portraying her role or whatever. So that was his save, and I mean, they pretty much laid that out bare in the story. So
Mm.
I was okay with all that. You make it compelling. Like I didn't like the bike lock thing in particular, just because it felt like I don't know, like it was a logistical issue for me, but I didn't even think about the women having to get in and out of there too. So yeah, there's an extra layer of that. So I guess I could see that argument,
It's
but
just
like the
so
conceit of it.
silly, you know.
It's
But when it comes
very
to like
silly.
For a movie that starts off like feeling very well written, I feel like the second half of the movie is not nearly as well written as like maybe the writers think it might be. It kind of crumbles a little bit. The ideas are still interesting, but it's just like
mhm.
cinematically not super fulfilling
I don't
when you're
know, like
leaving the theater.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The concept is what makes it fulfilling to me. Like I like where like the conceit goes. I like how it operates on a metaphorical level and all that stuff. The logistical stuff, normally that stuff would get in under my skin as well. I guess it just like I didn't clock some of it, and also I was more engaged with the other stuff. So for me, it's very fulfilling. Like I felt like the ending worked really well, and like we were talking about, like with the butterfly and her like Barnes coming back to life or whatever. Well, that's part of the ambiguity. Like we don't know that that happened. Like to me, it was pretty well intimated that that might just be like a out of body, like a Jacob's ladder, last moments of your life flash
She's bleeding
of
out,
like
yeah.
a prayer fulfilled as she's bleeding out. Like we don't know, and that's kind of like that ambiguity is like the point of the movie. Like is that like people are gonna make the choices they make. They're gonna believe what they need to believe in order to get by through whatever they're going through. It's gonna be stacked on things. It's gonna have to contort itself to what's going on to them, maybe. But maybe it did happen, and in which case the faith is real, and in which case it's magical reasoning, and you'd have to be able to buy that. Sure, maybe she's reincarnated as a butterfly because it's magical thinking.
I
Hmm.
guess that's kind of my problem too, is Hugh Grant is like right in a sense. I mean, his whole setup of religion is
Mm-hmm.
not right, but it sounds so. I mean, the I guess the whole problem is like at the end of the day. I mean, she even says, "Oh, prayer, it doesn't do anything. I'm not like asking for material things." But I mean, these women are there to like defend polygamy in a sense, and like the arguments he gives against religion are like sound in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What
ways
I
and
ultimately took away from this movie as being the point is not necessarily what Hugh Grant is saying. With like the first time I watched it, I kind of thought it was. It's like, religion, equal control, the movie. On the second watch, I feel like, and again, like this is really like driven home, I think, with the complex nature of these two young Mormon girls, and it's like this having faith, but also being willing to have a certain flexibility within it, because he proves, by like running his mouth for the first hour of this movie, yeah, religion is a man-made thing. It is filtered through man, thus it's going to be fallible. So you have to be able to have some flexibility therein. It's got to be like it can't be all religion all the time. Everything in this book is 100% correct, and you definitely can't be like the nihilistic person that Reed is, even though he's also like a psychopathic serial killer, which I think
Mhm.
sort of like dilutes the message of this movie as I'm receiving it, anyways. But it's not one or the other because both are very like unhealthy, I think. But some sort of happy medium, like Nicole was saying, like you have to be a real human being, like have some flexibility within your ideas and your faith.
Yeah, I
See,
think
sorry.
that's why I really liked it because it's not that like his arguments are even like wrong. It's just that he's missing a lot. Like she even says at one point, Sister Barnes says there's a whole spectrum you're neglecting. Um, and he is like he is missing the point of like that's the whole point of like faith and religion and like almost every culture in humanity has developed religion for a reason, you know. Um, so it's like there's an inherent value to human beings with like having faith, and
Mhm.
there is a mystery to it that he's just not understanding. It's not all intellectual, right? That's the whole point of faith is that you believe in something that you don't have proof for. And I think what was great about Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton is that we do get to like Sister Barnes says, "Oh yeah, well a lot of people say this when they have a near-death experience. This is a common scientific thing." So we know that they are not just blindly putting all their eggs in the faith basket because there are certain things we hear from them along the way that we know they're also practical people to some extent. Whereas
Mhm.
he is not a flexible person, probably because he's a psychopath. So to me, that's where the beauty of this movie lies, is sort of in
That's
that
interesting.
flexibility where we're not being given a clear answer one way or the
Hmm.
other. We have to think about it for ourselves, which Randy, you will track with me on this. That's why I love the show Midnight Mass because
Yeah.
it is very fairly, harshly critical of organized religion while also respecting people of genuine faith. It does both. And that's hard to do. And so
Mhm.
I think that's why I responded so positively to this movie because I feel like it does that pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that was really interesting, the idea that Reed is the inflexible one here. And I think that's true because more than he's a psychopath, it's because he's literally and knowingly playing what he considers to be God. Like he has to be like on the money all the time. And so like the idea that they would be a little bit smarter or that one of his controlled girls is going to sidestep him or whatever, those are things he has to work around and just has to ignore. So I don't know. Like I thought that was pretty interesting. But like I want to like do a quick tangent about something that I like serendipitously just finished this game called Pentiment, which is a little bit of an older game. It's a short indie sort of game that is in you would maybe like this, Nicole. So I'm going to try not to spoil much, but I don't know if you're into games or what. But like it's in the style, the illustration style of an illuminated manuscript, and it's about a manuscript artist in the 16th century Bavaria who is it's like a story. It's just straight up a story, and it works its way through two different or multiple times of this person's life. This guy Andres, as he is working in a church in a small town in Bavaria, and all these people there's a murder, and all these people he talks to, he has to investigate the murder, and based on how he talks to people, everything that you say to people can be remembered and will come back up later on is when the time jumps. I didn't even know there was a time jump coming. But like part of the point of that is that it really doesn't matter who the murders get pinned on. It doesn't really matter like all what matters is like how you interact with people cascade into the following year, and then you find out things about the town, about like what the things that they worship, the church that's there, about the Roman ruins that it's literally physically built on top of. It's this idea that like the decisions and the beliefs and the communities that we build compound on top of each other, and they can warp and they can twist and they can lead to hard times, but they create community as well. And there's something about that in this movie, I think, where it's about there's something more than just like following these commandments to a T in order to attain transcendence into heaven. It's something more than that. It's also about the communal aspect. It's about all these beliefs that you have that they have to be somewhat flexible in the world that you're in. Nobody in that story that I'm describing is perfect in any way, and they have to grapple with their beliefs. Their beliefs. Sister Barnes, they have all these they he approaches them, Reed approaches them as if they've never confronted these beliefs at all, that they've just blindly followed. But at some point, even though they are doing the very good religious student thing of papering over, like looking at porn and stuff, like Justin said, they have confronted some of these things. They've had these debates, at least within themselves, and they've looked up some of the information. At least Sister Barnes has, and she is relaying that to her cohort while also describing why he is pinning too much and underestimating them. I don't know. There's like, I just feel like that sort of gray zone is really, really well represented in these characters, and I like that a lot about it. I like it more as time has passed. I saw this a few months ago, or whenever it came out. But
Yeah, I agree. And I think that Sister Barnes is kind of, she's the more obvious, like strong one. And so I didn't expect her to get picked off first. But then watching Sister Paxton have to like become strong and like figure things out, like I was so worried for that poor sweet girl because she was like ready to give up and just cave into what he wanted and like go through the disbelief door just to get out of there, you know?
mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember in the moment being like, no, like don't let him rattle you, you know? So I enjoyed watching her journey, convoluted as it was, Justin. I will say, like all the dungeon stuff and like the multiple levels, we probably didn't need all that. There probably could have been just like a room in the dungeon. We probably didn't need it to be a whole convoluted maze, and we probably could have accomplished the same thing. But just watching her journey and then her ultimately getting out just it made me so happy. I enjoyed following her character.
Well,
It kind of,
yeah. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
I was gonna say to the point of the whole dungeon sort of maze situation. It feels like at a certain point somebody had a script and was like ready to go with it, and then some executive was like, can you make this a little more like that barbarian movie, and kind of like fucked the ending up. Probably, I
I kind of
might be
think it was
just
the
assuming.
opposite. I kind of feel like it started with a big labyrinth and they pared it down so much that it just kind of
Oh
seems
yeah,
like a shadow of that.
I
maybe.
actually
Yeah.
kind of like that because at one point they show a diagram. So it's not the idea that there are multiple dungeons because it is this descent into hell, which is a very like Dante's Inferno and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, they show the diagram of like going
Yeah, they
deeper
do.
and deep, and the whole kind of point is he's like guiding them, and I actually think it's kind of cool that like she ends up there and they're debating, should we go through this door? Should we go through this door? And like, it doesn't matter. And like, ultimately, kind of the point at the end is like, it doesn't matter. I'm in control. I'm tricking you. And one thing I do really like about this movie is that it's separate from the whole idea of religion at all, is this man as a killer and what his motivations are. Like seeing like Mindhunter so many times and thinking about like somebody who would actually do this. I think there are like moments in here that are really well thought out. And actually, to you kind of mention it, I think, Nicole, of like Barnes being killed, or maybe Randy did, of that made complete sense to me. I was like, oh my God, that's great. And I only watched it one time, but I'm like, it was just like 2 days ago, and I'm specifically remembering these scenes where he's like specifically watching her, and he is deciding which one is the stronger one and which one is the more defiant one so that he can kill her to keep the weaker one, to keep the one that's more easy to
Malleable.
manipulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
and as
Hmm.
and his whole motivation, like apart from like the religious thing, is like the humiliation and that's what and the girl
Mm-hmm.
who picks the disbelief one, like that's what he wants her to like, oh, you're the one who's like the strictest about religion, and you're the one who's like the most quickest to throw it away because you're
Mm-hmm.
scared, you want to get out of here, you don't actually trust your God, you don't actually believe these things, and I'm going to punish you for that. Or I'm going to get the enjoyment out of it, like I'm going to humiliate
I've
you,
become your
so
god.
yeah, so that I can throw it in your face to become your God. To like, so every day that you're in here, you remember that I took that away from you, that I have this control over you, where like I crushed your religion, I crushed your God, and I'm your God now. Like the thought that went into making this killer and like the beats that he hits are really well done. And so that is one positive that I thought, especially like with the killing of Barnes, that I thought like played out really well. It's just like the having to like explain like yeah, it's so frustrating because the first part is so well set up and everything that happens after the pie situation just feels so silly and I don't get where they fell off on that, and I don't know. It's very frustrating.
I will say
I don't know.
the when we finally get to the room where all the women are in cages, like that was like because we didn't all this time
Oh,
we're trying to
your
figure out
guys.
we're trying to figure out like, oh God, like what is his shtick? Like we know it's like going somewhere. And to me, like that was like super hard hitting and satisfying for lack of a better word. But the fact that it was all women in particular was like even like more of a gut punch because that's, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of religions mistreat women over men. Um, and so that to me was like, whoo, this is this is dark, but appropriately so.
It's
Yeah.
dark, but it's another logic problem I have because I'm pretty sure, like, I'm not 100% sure on this, but he requested that people be sent to the house to talk to him about religion. He's a man, and I'm fairly certain that the church would have sent two men. So all of these women are at this man's house. Like, what if they were men that showed up to his
Well,
house? I'm
but I had so a friend of mine who was raised Mormon, she and I were talking about this, and her
okay.
question was, she was like, who are all these other people? Like, where did they come from? And I assume they're not all Mormon missionaries. Like he's
That's what
done
I.
this over years and years. And like, of course, the Mormons, like it's their system to send out missionaries. And he put out an inquiry for it, but like some evangelical churches do that too. So I think just over the years, he's orchestrated it. So there's probably people from all kinds of religions in there, and they've probably shown up in different ways. He's probably collected them in different ways. So if the Mormon church happened to send him two male missionaries, he just probably would have a conversation with them and let him go, you know?
He might, and I think that you could kind of wave that away too, as just being like this is also on top of his ideologies or whatever. This guy, he's not. He's also still human. He may think he's God. He may want them to think he's God or to treat him like God, but what he wants might just be young women. So he might not invite the men into the back room. He might turn them
Oh,
away
sure.
instead.
Yeah. No, I
So
don't
like I
have
think
any
that's what it
idea
is to
that.
me.
Yeah, really, it's the logic of like this man has collected 10 plus women.
Hmm.
And let's just say that every time two show up and he always kills one of them, like how he is going through his whole scheme. So he's done this like 20 plus times at this point to collect this amount of women. But I'm pretty sure like every church is different, but it's specifically for the Mormons. I don't think that they like as they said at the very beginning, they were very strict and they were like, we can't be in your presence unless a woman's here. I think if a man's name shows up on a list and they know his name, when they show up at his door, they
Hmm.
say, hey, Mr. Blah blah blah. What I don't think that they send two women to that area, especially with the church, like the preacher or whatever they're called from the Mormon church. He's going around looking for them. He's in the vicinity.
Oh,
It's not like some pilgrimage that they're doing or whatever. They're close, and he goes in there. I don't think that they would send two women to that man's house.
Probably not, but I do love that we got a little cameo from your boy Eric Foreman, the Mormon, in this. I
I did
thought that
not
was
clock it until the
I
credits.
didn't clock it either, honestly.
Also, what a fucking waste of a character that was. Like, my
yeah, he just kind
God.
of left. He didn't
I
really do
actually think that's
much.
important. I actually thought that that was one of the better moments where they were showing, not telling. So one of the reasons I like that moment is he goes back. So like the way that I took that, find the whole thing of how it plays out is ultimately he was still like these women are missing and he needs to find them. Like he should be in a panic. And even in that, the people are less important to him than the mission. The mission is the most important thing. So he
Mm.
takes the time outside frantically looking for these missing young women who he believes are probably in danger to do the mission. Hey, I would be remiss if I didn't give you this like pamphlet or whatever. It's like in my mind, it was this kind of dig at a religion again about the idea of like, yeah, this guy. So we have these two guys, Hugh Grant and Topher Grace or whatever, and you were thinking, oh, Topher Grace is going to come in and save the day, but ultimately he just kind of not abandons them, but like I don't know. I took it as like
He
the
has the
mission is
opportunity to
still
actually
important.
save people, and then he swerves to save someone, in quotes. Yeah.
Exactly. The
That's
mission is more important than the people, is what
something
I took.
about that scene that I found really interesting that I only noticed on my second watch is he's got that model of his home, which seems very unnecessary. But right before, like a couple minutes before Eric Foreman, the Mormon, shows up, he's carving a little like wooden guy, and he sets it at the front door of the house as if he's expecting someone to show up and knock on his door. And sure enough, he rolls up a couple minutes later, knocks on the door, and he needs that distraction so the girls run up to the stairs and scream and try and get the matches so that the other girl can come in and hide the corpse and pretend to be the resurrected body, etc., etc. So it's just another way that the movie's showing you he is in ultimate control of this whole situation and he's playing these girls like puppets. I thought that was kind of neat. But
Oh,
yeah, that's what I got from it.
I didn't pick up on that, but now that you say it, I
I didn't
think
pick up
it's
on either
very
of those
dumb.
things.
Yeah.
Because I'm expecting this man to show up and create this big distraction so that they run
Yeah.
up. I don't, because
Yeah, it's
yeah,
silly. It is
they run
silly.
up there to get the matches, but like ultimately they go back down to set it in the pipe to burn it so they can't like you would have to have so precise timing
Yeah,
to
you
pull
would.
this shit off. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
You're
I
overthinking
hate
it,
this.
man.
I hate this plan. It's terrible. It's a
I don't
terrible
like that
plan.
Reed is yeah, maybe he was just always a psychopath, but the way he describes his situation is he studied every religion and he realized that it's all, nonsense and it's just a variation upon one another, just like Monopoly is, or this Radiohead song, or whatever. He makes all these ridiculous claims and like but because of him not finding any true like one religion it drove him nuts, so he built this crazy house with a dungeon and a cellar and he comes up with this wild scheme to like catch these people and quote study them and so that he can become a better manipulator. It all just seems a little
It's.
ridiculous,
I mean,
like
Barbarian is about a fucking like like I don't want to stay because that's a
Well,
spoiler.
if you
But
remember, I was
like
a lot harsher on Barbarian than
Barbarian has
everybody
a
was.
lot of comedy in it. It's got its problems, but
I
I
don't
think
know,
it
man.
is a
I think
little
that
more
if you
self-aware.
interrogate a lot of these movies that we review, like you can like there's a million ways you can parse these things that are make them sound silly. Like there's
That's
a
fair,
reason that
and we
there's
do.
I
yeah, and
tried
that's
to.
fine. That's fine. Like, but like,
We make sure
sometimes
you
the
don't like
things,
any movie on this show.
sometimes the logistics bother me, and sometimes they don't. And the times that they don't are when the conceit or when what the movie is saying is strong enough to get me to not think too hard about those things. And this movie does that. I
So
think
okay, so what is this movie trying to say then? So I think that's one of my problems too, is where ultimate like I was really along for the ride and I was like, okay, and I do have a problem with the convoluted plan, but also too at the end of the day, like I was saying, where these women are here to show up and say like to in some way defend polygamy and things. So what is this
I don't
movie
think so.
trying to say then? What is it?
That faith is
If
complex and there are no easy answers.
Is
I
that what it says at
I
the end though?
I think so.
yeah,
I
can you
didn't
easily
necessarily
say for
take it
sure?
that way.
I mean, that's fine, but
It,
like
it kind of has this spin, not 100%, but the thing it felt like it ultimately said, like you can take that and like, yeah, faith is complex, but ultimately the people with the faith win. It like if you take it
do
at
they?
like face value, they're in the right. They're the protagonist, and prayer saved them, and
Maybe.
their
I
dedication
think
to
they're all
God
dead,
saved them.
honestly, at the end.
Yeah,
I
see,
Oh,
that's the thing is like
maybe.
it's up to your interpretation. Like the
Yeah.
ambiguity is very key in this case. This is a movie that like a lot of movies end on ambiguity, and it's like it's just kind of interesting. In this, it's like essential that it ends on a note that you cannot define wholesale as being
Yeah.
this happened or this happened. You have to choose. You have to choose belief or disbelief. You have to decide whether or not this is a religious experience or the death throes of a dying woman. Like you have to decide to
Yeah.
some degree.
Nobody knows, and ain't that scary? The movie.
Yeah,
Like,
and even Hugh
yeah.
Grant, the psychopath killer, like as ridiculous as some of his like. Even he, the guy who gets off on saying like, "See, Lana Del Rey got in trouble for ripping off Radiohead, who got ripped off for got all these things." He's also like asking for prayer at the end. The chips are down. He's dying. He's about to find out the ultimate answer to his questions, and he's scared. He's fucking scared because he's not God. He doesn't even believe in God, and all this like bluster and all this fucking cruelty he's done to people is ultimately just a way for him to pass the time until this moment. And when he gets there, he asks for prayer. Is that just another way of humiliating her, or is it truly just him being afraid? Again, ambiguous. People are complex, and there's a lot of different ways that religion interact with that complexity. That can be used for good, can be used for ill, it can be rejected for good, it can be rejected for ill, and all the things in between. There's chaotic neutrals and everything else in the world that you can put and apply to the idea of religion. And I think that is it can be beautiful, and I think that's what the ending is. Whether it happened or not, the butterfly coming, it's a beautiful thought, and it's something that people can adhere to. That's what whatever her name is, the sister who died and who kills Hugh Grant. She says, "Yeah, what a beautiful thought about that." Like that's what religion is a beautiful thought about what could be, and adhering to that can improve your life, but adhering to that in the wrong ways or whatever can ruin your life. Being uncritical of that belief can ruin your life. So I don't know that I get a lot of things from this, and it's kind of a prism that you can turn a bunch of different ways, look at a bunch of different ways, but it depends entirely on not being definitive.
Yeah.
Amen, brother Randy.
Yeah. I guess Reed was ultimately like drove himself nuts because he was unable to, I guess, give himself over to the idea of belief, and that drove him fucking crazy. And that's, I guess, I don't know. I guess you could take whatever you want out
Yeah.
of this
I
movie
mean,
because it is so open ended.
I think
Yeah,
people
that's
have
why
gone crazy for that.
that's why he's a psychopath, because it's like, well, why can't you just not believe? Like, why does it bother you so much
Yeah.
that there are people that exist that believe in something? Like, that's
I
not
don't
a
even think it's that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I don't
Yeah,
even
that's
think it's
just
like
not a rational
necessarily.
thought.
Yeah, like to me, I think that he is doing what every evil person has ever done with religion, which is using it as an excuse to do the cruelties he just wants to do. Like he wants to keep women in cages. He wants to humiliate these people because he sees himself as better than them or whatever. He has delusions of grandeur, and he uses religion as a weapon. Like that is what evil people do with religion.
Yeah.
I agree. I didn't see him as going crazy. I took it as
He may not.
the same thing of, and maybe
I
he
mean-
did. I mean, he is very like, he seems to be knowledgeable, and we don't know to the extent he seems to be, but I didn't take it as him going crazy because I can't find the answer. I took it as him saying like, why not me? Like everybody else does this, like, well,
Yeah.
and because of he sees his intellect as, with the people who criticize people in religion sometimes, is that holier than thou type of thing. Like and with the different religions of like, I know the one true way, and it gives you this superiority in some way. Like, I know better than you. He's the same. Because I know it's
He's
fake.
devout, you could say.
Yeah, because I know it's bullshit, then I'm better than you, and so I feel like I can treat you lesser than, so yeah, it's I didn't take him as him going crazy. I can't figure this out. It was just like he's like taking advantage of what he has come to understand understand about religion in general.
I think he would. I think if he had like had any real passing belief in Jesus Christ or whatever, he could just easily just be Jim Jones or some other person
Sure.
in history that has done similarly evil things. Or Ed Gein. These fucking people that we call serial killers a lot of times claim to have faith. Faith drives them to it at times, and that faith is corrupted by their their insanity or their hidden desires that they can't control, their impulse control issues, any number of factors. So I don't know. I think I love all this talk about religion and all this stuff, but I do want to also talk for a minute about like just on a craft level. The casting in this, casting Hugh Grant as this character is so fucking great. He is so good in this role because his whole thing, his whole career has been like being Mr. Charming.
It'd be like
and
if
that's
Tom
exactly
Hanks,
what you need.
like Tom Hanks could have played this role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody who's like a guy that you like couldn't possibly have ill intentions. He has to be that because he has to be able to be the perfect lure for these people. I love that so much, and not just that. Like the girls playing the sisters or the elders or whatever, they are fucking great. Well, I can't think of her name, but the dark-headed girl who's also in Yellow Jackets. I love her in Yellow Jackets.
Sophie
She was in
Thatcher.
Sophie Thatcher. Thank you. She was great. She was good in a terrible movie called Boogeyman. She was good enough in that, and I was so happy that she got to be in a movie that was also good. Like,
Yeah.
I was very, very happy for her for that. But I also was taken by surprise by the other girl because, I was not
Chloe
anticipating
East.
Chloe East. Okay, I was not anticipating that character coming around to being the central protagonist. Like, the movie really took me by surprise there, and like I was very much like enamored with this idea. It's like, oh shit, so like the one that basically was being led by the nose is now on her own, and it's a brilliant like tactical move on this character's part, his part, but on the movie's part, it's just like the sinking feeling I got in that moment, and then watching her rise to the occasion, it really like the arc of that character really fucking worked for me. I was so psyched at the end of that movie.
Yeah, I thought
I
Hugh
just
Grant was
loved him.
great. Like, it's like we know that bad things are going to happen. Like we know this is not a good guy. We know bad things are going to happen, but we still want to trust him kind of. He's very like sort of charming, and that whole like cat and mouse thing between them the first 15 20 minutes or whatever, I thought was really well crafted, and like they do what they should do. Like they come in because they believe his wife is there, and then once they get the bad vibes, they're like, should we leave? Yeah, let's just leave while he's in the other room. And they can't, you know. Because I mean, a lot of times in horror movies, that's the criticism is it's like, oh, why didn't they just leave? So I liked that they sort of dismantled that right off the bat, and gave these girls a reason to stay. And then when they should leave, they tried and they were already trapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him saying like, "Oh, there's metal in the walls and the ceilings. I hope you don't mind." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever, weirdo."
Okay, like-
Yeah, that's
Shrug it off. What a weird thing to say and to also have, huh? That pie is coming. You just gotta believe in it. If you believe hard enough, that pie will materialize.
Yeah.
Made me want some pie and some Taco Bell. Who doesn't talk about Taco Bell? We gotta talk about Taco Bell. Gotta.
I forgot about all the Taco Bell talk in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Wendy's not the best. It is Taco Bell. It's got
her little run about all the different fast food and like
Yeah.
what's the best, I thought was super cute.
She had clearly had to put a lot of thought into that before he posed the question. She
Yeah.
like rapid fired through like 9 or 10 burger chains.
Who doesn't have an opinion about fast food, though? I mean, in America, we're Americans. Kentucky Fried Chicken and a
Damn
Pizza
it.
Hut, McDonald's. Like, we know this shit back to front.
Yeah. My sacrament is the Baja Blast.
Oh,
Let me get
my
low.
Lord.
Let me get low.
Man. Ooh. I was formulating a joke that I decided against.
My God's got the blue blood. Oh, God.
Not the joke I want to go for.
Oh.
The flesh is the beefy 5-layer burrito.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think this movie is very thought-provoking. I know we could go on and on. Are there any other major things you guys want to hit before we go ahead and rate this?
Not necessarily.
Violent.
Actually, do Mormons believe in reincarnation? Is that a Mormon thing?
Yes.
Really?
So,
Okay.
I don't
Is
know.
it?
In the sense that it comes back to Earth.
and well, I don't know in the sense that you come back as anything other than a human being. So
Oh.
I had a good friend in high school that was
Yeah.
Mormon, and I had a very long conversation with him about this. He definitely did. I don't know if that is a wide belief
Really?
amongst the Mormon
Hmm.
population because I've
Okay.
only ever known the one Mormon family. But as far as I understand, I
Hmm.
believe they do. Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't she
Um,
say though? Now I just might be misremembering, but didn't she just say that the butterfly was just like a sign that like the butterfly would just be like a sign, not like
Yeah, maybe
literally
she did.
her?
I thought she said, "I want to come back as a butterfly."
Well,
I
yeah, and I'm
think.
gonna land on somebody's
Yeah.
fingertips, not on their cheek, not on
Maybe
their blah blah
so.
blah, on their fingertips, so they know it's me. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Well,
Which I think the butterfly is generally just like a symbol of life after death, of reincarnation or rebirth, maybe just
Hmm.
generally rebirth, I believe.
right.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
Um,
the
that's just all.
caterpillar dies and you
yeah, there you
go,
go, there
it'll
you
be
go.
something else.
You got it. We got there. So yeah, let's go and rate this thing. If there's anything else that comes to mind, of course, feel free to throw it out. Nicole, why don't you kick us off? Out of five, how do you feel about Heretic?
I think it's very clear that I dig this movie and it works for me. Like I said, I was intrigued from the first trailer and I was not disappointed. The cast, as we've discussed, is fantastic. I really enjoyed getting to know these young women and sort of following their journey. Um, Unhinged Hugh Grant is fantastic. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the videos with him lately, but like grumpy Hugh Grant is like my favorite thing right now. He complains about everything. He's coming to his like curmudgeonness. It's great. So I would love to see him do more of this kind of stuff. I think this is a really well-paced movie. Like I said, even though like this is not good and he's not in a good headspace, it's a joy to watch it sort of like slowly unfold. Um, the design of this movie is gorgeous, like the moody lighting and his little cottage house, and then the way his office is set up, like all that's just from a design standpoint was great. Um, I was never bored with this movie, and I really did not know how it was going to end. And of course, that's always fun. We've seen so many horror movies that often we kind of know where things are going, and I enjoyed the ride of not knowing what was going to happen. Um, and we get, like you said, Bob, a lot of Catholic horror, a lot of possession, and those are great in their own right. But it was just nice to see a fresh story. I've never seen a Mormon horror movie. There
I've
could be
never
some
seen a
out
Mormon.
there.
Are they
Yeah.
big?
What are they? They do exist.
What do they do?
Where can I get that underwear?
That magic underwear. So anyway, to me this was like very, very fresh. So top to bottom, I had a great time. So for me, like I said, I think this is a movie that most horror fans can enjoy. I will definitely watch it again. So for me, it is a 4.5 out of 5.
Oof.
Ooh, nice. Four and
High
a half
praise.
out of five from Nicole. Randeezy, how do you feel?
I mean, yeah, I feel like again, like finally getting to have a second conversation after just me and Beck about this with some folks with different perspectives. It's enhanced the movie a little bit for me. Um, I liked this movie going into it. Like I agree with like on a craft level, I just kind of liked the journey of it. The arc of the characters really worked. The things that they were generally like saying and that they were about like those things all worked really well. It was acted really well. The perform or the quality of the sets and all that stuff. I really liked all that stuff. Justin made a really compelling point though about some of the like inconsistencies in the logic, and I can agree with a lot of that. Like I think there is some. The one that like I thought about that I didn't bring up yet about the bike lock was the idea that he had to know that she was going to go down there, which means that he had to know that she was going to reject this fucking simulation theory, which means he had to have known that he was going to have to pivot from that fucking girl from one of his controlees, one of his captives, breaking script. You know what I mean? So like he can't have done that. Like he can like logically could not have done that. Um, not anticipated that. At least like if he had set that up, he had some whole other plan on how she was going to get down there. So I don't know. There's something to be said about that, and I think that does. I can look past that. I think for myself because I'm so enamored with like the conversation at the center of this whole thing, and getting to look at it all these different ways, those sort of like meaty moments that you actually get to dig your teeth into and talk about and think about, and addressing these big fucking questions through a silly horror movie is always a plus for me. So I can look past them. However, it would be stronger if they had adhered to standard like reality as well while doing so, at least in those moments. At the end, I'm not so bothered because that's where the ambiguity comes into play, and I can believe anything they say happened, that anything they portray on film could have happened, because at that point it might just be an in-universe religious experience, or it might not be. So, yeah. Anyway, all that said, I really, really like this movie. I do see what Justin had to say about that, and I do agree with it. I think I'm gonna go with a four. I'm gonna go with a 4.25. I'm not quite at a 4.5. I do think that there are some lulls in action here that I was like not necessarily on pins and needles for. I was more just like a little confused. I agree that like him come bring her down. It's like, do you know what the true religion is yet? I was with Justin where I was like, I don't know what is
It's like,
she
I don't know what
supposed
the
to
fuck I
say?
say.
Like, I don't know exactly. I get like he's fucked and he's like just fucking with them, but to what end? And it's about control. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But it's the fact that she got there before me after showing the entire movie that she was not on the ball for the most part, logically. Um, it was like, I don't know. There's some moments like that that I could point to as detriments, but at the end of the day, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the fruits of having seen this movie, which is this conversation and a few others. So 4.25 works for me. Room to grow.
4.25 from Ray and DZ. Juice, how do you feel?
Um, I wasn't sure how I necessarily felt coming in here, but one thing too, to t kind of defend my thinking a little bit too, is I want to stress that it's purely not based on logic about like the way that this happens and this happens. I think that that's very poorly thought out, but it's the true reaction that I felt of this movie really intrigued me, and I was buying it 100. Like I thought the acting was really good, and all the things we've praised already about like the setup of this man's way of thinking, and like the beats, and like how they're like, oh, he has our coats and those kind of things, like that all felt natural, and there was good tension, and like his like wackadoo spiel about Monopoly. And then also too, there's a moment where he kind of freaks out a little bit, he loses control and starts to show himself a little bit. I was like, yeah, this is building really well. But the thing I can't deny at all is being so invested in this film more than halfway through, and then once it started to fail, my true feeling was just disappointment, disappointment, disappointment. Just like each new beat that kept happening once they kind of went into the dungeon was just disappointment. Everything that they tried to pay off for me didn't feel rewarding to me. And then the ultimate message at the end, like the whole it's so tropey. She's not really dead. She's alive and she's gonna save the day. And then she's gonna die. It's like if this were an action movie, like it feels so tropey and silly. And yeah, like with such good dialogue that they set up so well, the fact that she has to go down there and then reveal the plan to the watcher, like to us, the viewer, and like spell it out for you is bad. It's just craft wise, it's not good to have to do that. And so the logic is just part of it. I think the craft of this film really starts to fall apart. Like Bob was saying, like crumbles away with each new reveal and each new step. And it feels like all the goodwill and everything that they set up like starts to like lose its footing there, because I'm like, well, man, they couldn't, it's like Lost, wow, they really set that up really well. Oh, it means absolutely nothing. It goes nowhere. Well, this is a bad show. Like you got to pay it off. Like you,
I will
and it,
dispute that too.
it wasn't paid off for me. It didn't feel rewarding. And the true feeling that I felt was disappointment, disappointment, disappointment. So what I will say is like a lot of it was well thought out and was intriguing. The killer itself, I think, is probably the best part, and the acting is really good. So, the casting and the acting is really good. I think the last third of this movie is like very tropey and kills a lot of it for me, honestly. And the logic is very ridiculous. And I can wave some of that away if ultimately I felt the ending was rewarding, but I didn't. So I think I'm gonna put this one at a 3. I am not as hot as
You know how I know I like this movie is I'm feeling knee-jerk defensiveness right now. Like,
Yeah,
that's how I know I'm on this movie's side.
Leave it
Yeah.
alone.
How dare you have your own thoughts?
God damn
How
you!
dare you not feel
I
the
am your
same?
god.
You have
Call
my
me a
thoughts.
dick!
Damn.
Bob, out of 5, where are you gonna rate this one? Are you a believer or a non-believer?
I think I'm a little closer on the juice side of things here. I think the Reed character is interesting, but I don't. The ideas are just not fully explored, and I don't think his character is really well explored either, or maybe just not well like shown on screen. There's like this movie being about religion and control. It's like an interesting concept for a movie, but it feels like kind of one-sided. Like religion, a lot of people like are seeking religion to feel like they are in control of their own lives, and the irony in that is you have to give over to believing in something you can't see. You have to relinquish control to feel a little more in control, and like his character ultimately is unwilling to do that, so he goes from religion to religion to religion, trying to find, quote, the one true religion, and he can't do it because he has to be in control all the time. He's unwilling to give himself over to belief, so he decides that he's going to control everyone around him too and show them that they have, no real control because their religion is a fabrication built on layers of all these other things that have come centuries before them. And like I feel like him being in control of these people obviously is like very well explored, but like the psychology behind him, I feel like, is just sort of very loosely tiptoed around, and I want more of it because it does feel kind of like my big takeaway the first time I watched this was like, this guy's just full of shit, and like everything he said was kind of interesting until you get down into the dungeon and he starts talking about the simulation theory and how he's in control because he left a key in your jacket, and it's just like he's kind of full of shit and not very interesting. But I think they could have just done a better job at developing like his psychology in the like hour and a half, like 90-minute dialogue before you get any action, which I'm not complaining about the length of that because most of it is intriguing. I think they could have just doled out a little more of his, like where he came from, I guess, in that conversation instead of him just talking about like Monopoly and shit. Like, I don't need to know where Monopoly
Dude,
came from. It's not really interesting.
I thought that Monopoly. But go ahead, Bob.
I would have liked more about his character, I think, because it just feels kind of like most of the shit he says, but I feel like there's a deeper well in that character that I would like to just get some more water out of, I guess.
Maybe we'll get a prequel next year, you know?
Yeah.
Is this
I
one?
You have to
don't-
explain where he
I
got
do
his
not
sweater and
want
all kinds
a
of things
prequel.
like that. We got to have a Topher Grace sequel trilogy, of course.
Yeah, show me that. I'll take more Form in the Mormon. But yeah, I ultimately this movie is pretty thought provoking, and I think that is its strongest leg to stand on. Is like after you watch it, if you're willing to like ponder about it for a while, it is very thought provoking, and I think I enjoyed this conversation more than I did watching the actual movie, and I kind of figured that would be the case. But yeah, it's just not as good as it could have been. I don't think it's as well written as the movie kind of feels like it thinks it is. But it's all right. It's a decent A24 movie, probably somewhere in the middle of the pack of the A24 movies that we've covered on this show. I'm landing at a 3 personally on this as well.
Wow. I could not be
So-
less interested in finding out where he went to college and shit. Like, I don't care about
I
any
don't
of that
want to know where
shit.
he went to
Like,
college. And yeah, that's not
I don't
what
want to
said.
know what makes him tick is just he's a fucking evil person who likes to manipulate people and he's found a way to do that. I don't
Also,
know.
I loved the whole like Monopoly spiel. Like
I
all
love it
that.
too.
I loved all that stuff.
I liked
It
it
was
too.
101 to us because we are like in our 30s, but I feel like he's talking to two 20-year-olds and he's like laying shit out for them and that he thinks is going to blow their mind and kind of is for one of them. I don't know.
Mm.
I just don't feel the same way.
That's
And
fair.
that's okay.
That is okay.
Conform to me.
I am your god. So yeah, with my 3, that's going to make our aggregate a 3.6 for Heretic. Let's go and jump over to our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users have to say.
All right, people, here comes the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have you folks guess within the best of your abilities what the aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com for Heretic, starting with the tomatometer or the critic score, and then moving on to the poopometer or the user score. So, starting with our critics, there are 269 reviews counted here.
Holy shit! That seems like a lot.
It's a new movie, so they have a good sample size. These
Is this in
reviews
theaters,
are-
by the way? Did it have a
It
theater
was,
run?
yeah, I saw it in
Okay,
It was,
okay.
yeah.
So let's start with our esteemed guest, Nicole. Out of those 269 reviewers, what percentage would you say are positively moved by this movie?
I think 70%.
70%. Wow, right on the ball. Okay, but unwilling to go with the comedy number. I respect your restraint.
You know, been there,
All
done
right,
that.
Soju, how about you?
I think with the critics, I think it's going to be different with the oozers, but with the critics, I think this is going to be stupid high for a couple reasons. A24. I think that's going to give it this boost. And also, too, I feel like there's, with maybe a younger audience, especially these women being younger, the Hugh Grant aspect, but also, too, of I feel like there was such this harsh push on religion for so long that I feel like there's this kind of cultural shift in a younger generation the other way. Not necessarily like what it was, but like this kind of movie, like I said, it feels kind of weird where these women, they ultimately pray at the end and like one saves them and like was prayer. I don't know. I feel like there's this shift back a little bit the other way. And
Have you talked to people about astrology recently? Holy shit.
So I think this movie is gonna be crazy high. So 70, but I mean it's gonna have a cap though. So I'll take the boys. 86. You know, we're going Christian today, you know. I'll keep
All right.
keep it on theme. I'm gonna take the 86.
Testify.
Project 86.
All right. Bob, round us out. Do you have a Christian related number to give me?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Austin 316, please.
Okay, 316% positive.
Yes.
Um,
I guess
what are we
that
going
would
with?
be like a 31.6. No, that's way too low. It's going to be definitely higher than that. I'll just take a 90. Yeah, I think it's going to be
you should
high.
have just gone with pie since it's a pie-centric movie.
90.
You say 90?
Damn it! Yeah, I'll take a 90, yeah.
A 90? All right. Well, fellas, lady, one of you is a single digit away from the correct answer. And that correct answer is 91%. Bob's hauling this one
Bob
to the bank.
snaked it.
Yeah.
I should have
There
held
you
my
go.
logic to myself. I just want to look smart. That's the problem. Cost me the win.
Devil is a motherfucking liar. So
I
you
can-
know I ain't worried. Biatch.
I convinced Bob.
Yeah. That's what Sister Barnes said in this movie.
Yeah.
I ain't worried.
That is the ultimate.
Yep.
That is the ultimate message from Sister Barnes. Elder Barnes. We keep saying sister. It's elder.
Is
in
it?
Latter-day Saints.
Is it?
No,
Yeah.
it's sister.
In the
It's
movie,
thought they
they
were
say
saying
sister.
sisters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the movie,
Okay.
they say sister.
Well, they're probably
But
not elders yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I think
like-
everybody's an elder. Like more missionaries are elders.
I don't think so. Like
I don't
on
know, maybe not
IMDb,
for
they're
females.
listed
Maybe I
as
have it wrong.
sister.
Yeah.
Maybe I have it wrong. It's a gender thing, but yeah, I know that like young male more missionaries are called elder.
Oh, maybe that's the difference.
Elder
Yeah.
Must be the
Stains.
difference.
Can you guys go ahead and call
Elder-
me that from now on?
I'll call you elder stains, but you're not going to look good in public.
I
All
always
right, let's
look
move
good
over
in
to-
public, Randy.
you look good everywhere, buddy.
Thanks.
Let's go with our poopometer here. There's 1,000+ verified ratings for this film, so a reasonably good sample size. We're gonna go in reverse order. Bob, start us off here. Where do you think they're gonna land?
I think it's going to be high again. It seems like most folks really are into this. How high are we going here? I will. I'll take the boys. I'll take 86
Oh,
project.
oh, oh,
I'll snake the
damn.
boys.
Juice, you gonna take DC Talk as your answer, or
No.
Five Iron Frenzy. You can
Carman?
take a five.
Ooh,
Oh
yeah, take a
boys,
5 for
no.
5 Iron Frenzy.
Oh my god. Oh
Can we
my
just
god.
detour into Christian music and
No.
Right.
leave
That,
this
I think I
behind?
just
down.
exhausted my reservoir of Christian music knowledge.
With
Uh,
numbers in the name.
yeah, I think it's gonna be around like slightly low. God, 91 is really high. But I don't know. I'll take 80 then. I think it's gonna be
80.
high
All
though.
right. All right. Round us out, Nicole. Where are you going with it?
Well, I was gonna take the boys, and Bob got there already, so I'm gonna $1 Bob and do 87%.
Ooh.
87%. All right. Let's see. The correct answer is just 4 digits away from one of you. And that person is going to be Soju. This is a 76% positive.
Oh, that's a bigger drop than I thought.
You forgot that this movie casts aspersions upon the Christian faith. So, I mean, it's not going very high into the general populace.
It seems like it kind of supports it a little bit. I don't know. That's why I was kind of confused. That's what I'm saying. It like
Well,
I had
it
the
just depends on your audience. If there were any evangelicals in this movie, they don't get nuance.
Yeah, you think
so.
that somebody who watches Kirk Cameron movies is going to watch this quietly? You are dead wrong about that.
I don't know.
All or nothing.
I just think if somebody religious is watching this, they're gonna say, "Hey!"
Hey, there it is. There it is. I was waiting. I was waiting.
Unbelievable.
There's no way this is going to lead anywhere but there. All roads lead to Skeet for Soju.
That's Bob.
Hell yeah. Hell
Whatever, who
yeah.
gives a shit?
Can I get a hell
good.
yeah? Oh, hell yeah, man. Get a hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Testify. All right. We're going to read a quick couple negative reviews because sometimes they're funny, but probably not in this case. We'll find out. It has been getting a pass, I fear, because it focuses more on dialogue, as in the let's have a dialogue sense of the word, than on rote scares. But the scares are rote anyway. Okay. So he doesn't like the scares. Like, this movie's a story. I don't think it's about the scares at all.
It's
I
not
thought the
really scary.
tension was really
The tension's
good.
good.
Especially,
but like,
I didn't know.
Scares. Like,
I didn't know it was the same directors who did Haunt, and Haunt had a lot of the great same kind of tension.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I liked that about the movie, actually.
And good characters in that movie too.
Yeah, the closed space, and Haunt was
need to
very
rewatch that.
unexpected too, like the reveal and kind of stuff like that. So yeah, similar
I
vibe.
gotta rewatch that. It's been too long. I can't remember enough about it. Let's read one more and we'll move on. Hugh Grant shines as an evil character, but the film's lackluster script and pacing failed to deliver a satisfying horror experience. Nicole and I think at least agree that the pacing is pretty good. I think
I don't have a
lackluster
problem with
script.
the
I
pacing.
don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's some logic problems, like Justin pointed out, but aside from that, I'm really into what this movie is talking about and the conversation surrounding it. So, color me happy. That's my horror experience of the day, and I don't know. That's enough. That's enough kvetching for me. All right. Let's see what's going on next, Bob. You got trivia for us or no?
Yeah, there's a little bit. Let's go ahead and get into it.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right, this movie was definitely a success at the box office. It had a budget of 10 million and grossed 44 million. So the A24 train keeps chugging along there.
Keeps going.
Yeah. Beck and Woods said the film was inspired by the films Contact and Inherent the Wind. I don't know anything about Inherent the Wind, but I know Contact. As films that discuss religion seriously, but in quote, a kind of popcorn movie context. The writing of the film was prompted by the death of Woods's father from esophageal cancer, which that is a bummer. Sorry, dude.
Damn.
That's a bummer, dude.
That's a bummer, dude. Said popcorn movie kind of way. I guess I can see that. Yeah.
I
It's
think it
still
is. I mean,
like
as much as this
Hmm?
topic can be, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
When you get into this, is basically half of this is a fucking YouTube video essay. So I mean, for them to make that into a horror arc is pretty impressive, in my opinion.
Yeah. Wanting to ensure the missionary characters were as genuine and authentic as possible without cliches, the filmmakers consulted various Mormon friends during the writing and production, as well as Thatcher and East, who are apparently ex-Mormons themselves.
Oh wow,
Smart.
I had no idea.
Okay.
Interesting. Good call. Like
Yeah.
two just great actors that also used to be Mormons. Like
Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
wild.
nailed it.
All right.
Hell yeah. I like how they brought that up in the movie too. Like some of those songs are kind of funny.
They are. You know
Hugh
that
Grant-
like this. Here's a piece of trivia about that: is they like have advertisements at every showing. The Church of Latter-day Saints takes out advertisements in the playbill that say something to the effect of the show is entertaining, but the book is better, sort of thing.
Yeah,
clever.
that's
Oh.
hey, you know
clever.
what? Good pivot. Yeah.
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 Good job.
Not outright condemning it, but like, hey, if you want to
Using it, yeah, to your advantage.
Well, shit.
yeah.
Even the play doesn't outright condemn it at the end. So yeah. Anyway.
Hugh Grant once stated in an interview, quote, "I'm getting bored of playing obvious roles and being typecast." And I guess Scott Beck and Brian Wood saw the interview and called him up. Said, "I got a juicy role for you, Mr. Grant."
Whoa.
Perfect call. Like
It's all about
I don't know, man.
pie.
Like I said, you can't find a better person to be the guy that seems like you should be suspicious of, but you just can't quite be. Like it's good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Last bit I have here. The music at the end credits is performed by Sophie Thatcher, Sister Barnes in the
shit.
movie, and it's a cover of the 1973 version of Knocking on Heaven's Door, set to the tune of Fade Into You by Mazzy Star,
I
which is
noticed
just another. I did too. When it first started, I was like, wait, this is supposed to be Fade Into Me, and it's not, and it's
I know.
really
I was like, holy shit. Like I
Yeah.
love that fucking song.
plays
And
into
I was
the
like- I was like, man,
iterations thing.
I wonder
cool.
if this has some sort of significance. And then it starts playing. I was like, holy shit, they are doing some everything is a remix shit in this movie. God damn.
Blowing my mind here. That's another thing that the movie Haunt ends on like a slow
The Dragula?
version of
that
Dragula.
Yeah.
I forget the artist's name. It's this
That is a
female
cool
singer-songwriter.
version, though. Yeah.
Really good. I can't remember her name
Mhm.
though.
Forgot about that.
Check that shit out.
Lissy?
Yeah, that's it. Let's see. Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Thank you, sir. But yeah, that's all the trivia I got. Let's go ahead and jump into our Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Gooder of the week.
Juice. What is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's character type in a straight shot.
The Holy Spirit just moved through Juice.
Can I hell yeah.
Hell yeah!
Okay, Elvis.
Hell yeah, brother!
Oh,
Hell yeah!
Cooter's character type on a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points
Yeah,
to
you
be
spent some
considered
time
a
in
cooter.
church.
these are the highest points you ever seen.
The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance.
It's good.
Manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look at attire, and overall patheticness. I think we got a cooter this week, and it's gonna be Pie Guy. Let's go with Pie Guy.
Well, hold on.
I got-
Christopher Grace has some things to answer for. I'm just kidding.
All right, let's get my boy Hugh, not Janus, of course.
No.
Grant.
That's your
Huge
real
Grant.
goal.
We'll get to Janus later.
Huge
Apparently,
Grant is one
but
thing,
huge
but-
Grant.
Biggest Grant I ever saw.
So smug arrogance, check.
Check.
He
Yep.
believes he's God.
Yes.
Well,
Mhm.
there's only a few of us out there, so smug arrogance, boom.
There's only a few of us gods out there.
Uh,
Psycho killers.
Sexual deviance, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
I think
so.
there's an
Think so?
argument for because
He's
he like
only targeting women.
he's targeting women and he's using religion to do it. I think that's an intentional choice on his part that is justified by his
And
fucking
he's getting
spiel,
off
not the
on the
other way around.
humiliation.
Mm.
The whole point of it is to humiliate them.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
and use them
that's
as bait for the next one.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Manipulation. 10 out of
I
10.
don't know about that one.
He seems like a pretty straight shooter to
I
me.
mean, he said that they're where they want to be, and I believe him. So,
I've Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's a manipulator. I would
Yeah.
oh yeah,
argue for looking at tire. Man looks sharp.
He does.
I'm gonna give him no points for looking at tire in the
he's
negative,
got the
but
Dahmer
good
glasses
positive
though.
points.
I don't know if
I don't
that's
know, man. That's popular right now.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
come
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Like,
It
I mean,
is.
that's good.
He's pulling it off.
I think he pulls it off. So
Yeah.
that's the
doesn't
important
mean
part.
it's good.
Weird Al Yankovic could pull it off too, and I'm not giving him any cooter points for anything ever in my life.
Yeah, but he's a real god. Okay?
Mullets are also high right now already. So I mean,
Yeah,
They are. Like
They're
literally
back.
looking like Weird Al Yankovic right now will get you laid.
They're
Um,
back just like the McRib sandwich.
Make Grimace
what's
here.
next? I don't. Wait, what?
I
Okay.
have never eaten a McRib in my life.
Don't lie to my
Patheticness, right?
face.
Patheticness. I
I
mean,
feel like
I say
Yeah,
yes.
I'd say yes.
I
Yeah,
think it's
for
like a
sure.
rare case where like somebody who's in complete control throughout the majority of the movie is absolutely pathetic because this is again to my mind just a justification for evil shit.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
he's
me,
not really
like,
in
pathetic as fuck.
complete control, which leads to his downfall. But
Yeah.
he's
Like, what
a
a-
pathetic motherfucker.
What
I
a
think, yeah.
desperate existence. I live in
Yeah.
this cute little cottage house and I have to lure people in and make them feel like idiots. That's pathetic.
what a waste of
Yeah.
Ugh, that's a lot
I
of
have
energy.
to I have to charm fucking 20-year-old girls, 19-year-old girls to come into my house so that I can imprison and kill them. Come on, man.
Meanwhile, you
Pathetic
could just
shit.
have an actual wife who actually bakes you blueberry pies. Doesn't that sound better?
I know.
Yeah, just start a YouTube
Now you're
channel like a
talking
normal
Get
crazy.
in the
freak.
kitchen, wife, and bake me some pies.
To be clear,
Or do you want me to be a
marry a
god?
woman who
Just troll
loves
people on the
baking.
internet like every other fucking weirdo.
Those are your choices. Have a nice, happy marriage or become God. It's up to you. It's up to you.
That's it.
You know?
Man, so both are so appealing.
What is? I'll let you decide which one.
You got
Oh,
married
the
recently, didn't you?
anticipation.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, he's a
That's it.
cooter.
He's
Hardcore.
locked. He's locked.
One of the highest examples of a cooter I think we've had in a minute. Got him.
Yeah.
Cool. There's nobody else really, I don't think. Everybody else is pretty on the level in this movie. So shall we continue and actually talk about what we've been watching this past month or so?
Oh, holy day. Here we go.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Nicole, you been watching anything cool lately?
Yeah. Not a lot of horror though. Which I love winter horror and holiday horror. Like Soju, I love to be on trend with the seasons. But I watched less holiday horror this year. So let's see. We were at my parents' house at Christmas and we watched Ocean's 11. They had never seen it.
Whoa.
And that was a lot of fun. They really liked it a lot, even my mom. And it's kind of not on brand for her, but she enjoyed it. So that was a fun rewatch. Of course, that's a great movie. I was like, I'd forgotten what year it came out, and I think it came out in like what 99 or 2000 or something. And I was like, maybe even earlier than that. I was like, man, this movie's so old. Made me feel old. And then I also watched Alex Garland's Civil War, which is a movie that's like kind of been on my list for a while. I love his stuff, but when that trailer first came out, I was like, this movie looks stressful. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But then I've heard several good things about it over the past year or so, and people saying like it's not quite what it seems on the surface. There's like more going on, and I really enjoyed that a lot. Enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So I'm glad that I finally checked that out. I also watched on New Year's Day Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby. I don't watch that every year on New Year's, but like maybe every 2 to 3 years. That movie is just has like all the best New Year's vibes. It's such a spectacle. It's a movie that just like makes my heart happy. Even though, it's not the happiest ending, but whatever. It's just a beautiful movie. I love the music in it. Actually, I would love to see Baz Luhrmann make a horror movie. I
That could be
think it
cool.
would be
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. Maybe Mask of the
All
Red
right.
Death. I think he could do it. But
Oh shit,
Ooh.
that's an
yeah,
interesting
right?
pull.
Another big party movie. Yeah, that could be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Although,
just want
yeah,
to see
Mike
him make.
Flanagan's Red Death was great,
Yeah.
but you know.
Mhm.
You just want to
Um,
see him throw more parties.
yes, that's what it is. Those
That's
party
the impulse.
scenes are just like something else. Um, and then the last thing is David and I started rewatching Peaky Blinders in preparation for the movie that's coming out maybe this year.
I did
So,
not know that they were making a movie. That's
Me
cool.
hmm
neither.
yeah,
I didn't
they're
either.
they're I think filming it right now, and Barry Keegan's going to be in it as
Of
well.
course.
Ooh.
What
Yeah.
isn't he going to be in this year? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I mean, that show's great. Cillian Murphy's great. So it's a fun one to revisit. And that's all the major stuff.
Nice. Solid list. Randeezy, what you been watching?
Oh man, the backlogs get longer every time. I'm gonna be try and be quick as always. I mentioned Pentiment already, which is I think it's an indie game that just came out on Switch not long ago. It was recommended to me. It's been out for a while though, other places. I recommend it if you're into story-driven games. It's an extremely well executed story game. It's not a challenge game. It's more just an experience, and it's like 15 to 20 hours max. Um, I also didn't watch that much by way of Christmas horror this year. Christmas wise, I did watch Die Hard. I watched that movie Carry On, which is like modern Die Hard. Like it's very fun. Uh, watched Oh Come On Ye Faithful, the Simpsons Christmas special. It's like an hour long, almost 45 minutes, something like that, and was pleasantly surprised by that. It's a pretty good modern Simpsons thing, I think. It's centers largely on Ned having a crisis of faith, which I thought was an interesting thing to do. Um, let's see. I've been watching Lost, which I find that I feel like I've been unkind to that for many years without having revisited it. I've been watching like season 4 of Lost. I just jumped in season 4 just to be like, is this as bad as I remember it being? And no,
Damn.
it's not. It's still fun, and they're like actually answering a lot more questions than I gave them credit for. It's pretty fun. It's a good show. Um, uh, Watched a movie called My Old Ass with Aubrey Plaza and other people, which made me weep. It's very melancholic in its way. You saw that?
Yeah, I did not expect to just cry. Like,
Dude, for real, it's
damn.
fucking something. It is something. I recommend it,
Yeah.
but only if you're in a contemplative mood as a middle-aged person. Um, let's see. So I've mentioned the musician Ginger Roots, the musical group Ginger Root before, which I'm a big fan of as of this year. They've been releasing music videos for their new album Shin Bangumi for like 6 months now, and they're all great. And they finally released the last of them, and it basically creates an entire movie. I recommend watching all of them in sequence.
Damn.
It's a lot of fucking fun, and it's a fucking bop after bop. That's my favorite album of the year for sure. Let's see. I read a book called "We Used to Live Here," which was recommended to us on our book channel on the Slack, which is a fucking mind bender of some kind haunted house kind of movie. Not movie, book. I liked it a lot, but it is a lot. Also, it's fucking interesting, that book. Um, Watched Wizard of Oz and Wicked with the family. Wizard of Oz is a classic, very silly but fun. Wicked, also kind of very silly but kind of fun. A little overblown, way too fucking long. Let's see what else. I'm just gonna try and end this out. Listen to a whole podcast called Hysterical about these girls in upstate New York who believe that they have some like sudden onset Tourette's-like symptoms, and nobody could figure out what it was, and then they started blaming it on this and that or whatever. But it's ultimately about like mass hysteria. um, it's very fucking interesting. It's a really, really good, relatively short listen. I think it's like 8 episodes of about 40 minutes length each. Recommended. Speak No Evil. Finally got around to that. Good. McAvoy's fucking fun to watch. And then I watched Black Cab with Nick Frost. What a fucking mess that movie is. Holy shit. I was very disappointed, and that's all I can say without feeling like I'm besmirching my boy Nick, but it's not good. There you go. I'm gonna round it out. That's it.
Boy, what a list. Juice, what you been watching?
A lot of things. I don't think I watched really any new Christmas stuff last year, but last year I watched so many. So I covered a lot of big ones. But yeah, classic stuff, Elf and all that. I started watching, or no, I finished season 2 of House of the Dragon, which was good, but slower for sure. But it's good for anyone who enjoyed Game of Thrones. It's a good little follow-up. I finished my promise or my goal, I guess, of watching all the Studio Ghibli films. I'd never seen actually, I'd seen Howl's Moving Castle once before. That's the only one I'd seen until this year. So I watched them all, and the last one I watched was The Tale of Princess Kaguya, or I probably butchered that, but and that was really good, delightful, sad, but a good one to kind of like wrap it all up. So I don't think I've added that one to my overall letterbox ranking. I try to rank them all this year, but it was good. So yeah, it was a great journey for 2024. Wonderful films. Um, I watched a new horror film, or new from this year. I'm trying to watch as many as I can before our list episode, but dude, I always want to say Digital Bath, but it's The Devil's Bath. I cannot not
That
think Digital Bath.
Deftones.
Yeah.
You can't get it out of your system.
It's The Devil's Bath, and I like it because I like those like period piece horror films, those like, throwbacks. Throwbacks. I mean, it's fucking like fantasy almost.
Throwbacks and revisits them.
Yeah. But yeah, I that one was cool. I like that one. I don't know. It's a German film. Okay. I haven't finished this yet, but I will soon. Another horror film called Mads. It's on Shudder right now. It's also what is it, Romanian or something?
I think
Denmark
it's
or
French.
French,
Or at least they're
maybe.
speaking French.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so that one is kind of intense. So I gotta finish that one up. But apparently it's all one shot, like a one shot film. So or single shot, whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. It's an intense movie though. Um, I have started, but I'm only like 2 episodes into Squid Game season 2. Dude, that first season came out in 2021. It's been
That's so
three
crazy
and a
to me.
half years. Netflix sucks assholes with following up on their
Damn.
properties, dude. They're terrible. Dude, when was Stranger Things first came out like 12 years or some shit ago. It's nuts how long they take with their shit. But I'm only 2 episodes in, and yeah, I don't know. It's okay so far. But we'll see where
I'm
it goes.
enjoying it. I didn't mention
Oh,
it, but
really?
I'm watching it as well. I'm like 3 in.
Okay. Yeah, I just did the Halloween episode, which I think was 2. So yeah, so it hasn't gone anywhere yet, so I'm not sure. Like in
Mm.
2 episodes, it's still doing a lot of setup. So I'm like, okay, let's get there. And also too, I watched the very first episode. I've never watched a show of Succession. So
Hmm.
I've heard a lot of buzz about that one, and I'm in Florida, and my parents have all the streaming services, so we don't have HBO in Korea, so I'm catching up on that one.
It's a
But
good
yeah,
one.
that's all I've been watching so far. Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
Like you, trying to cram in as many new horror releases as I can before we end up doing our top 10 show. I did watch Mads. It was pretty solid. I don't know if it truly is a oneer, but it's definitely
Okay.
edited that way. And it looks that way for sure. But yeah, it's about this probably mid 20-year-old, 25-year-old guy on his birthday gets some drugs and does them and goes out to party, and there's some adverse side effects from those drugs that he got, and crazy stuff happens.
All been
On
there.
Shut on Shutter every day, man. But yeah, it's on Shutter. It's worth a watch, I think. I also saw Smile 2 finally. Definitely like it over the first one. I don't know that I love it, but it is like a more interesting way to come at it. I still just don't like the creature aspect of it, but definitely an improvement over the first movie.
Yeah, I've
And you
heard a
get
lot of good feedback about Smile 2, and I had zero plans to
Yeah.
watch it, but I'm starting to feel like
me
maybe I
too,
should give it a
yeah.
chance.
I
Yeah,
think
me
it's
too.
if I didn't like one that much, I came around on some of it. Two is better, just kind of
Yeah.
across the
It
board.
reminded me of like the like Ouija and then Ouija Origins where you're like, oh, that one didn't suck somehow. But it's not a
Yeah,
prequel, but like
yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
oh, okay, nice. Not bad. Last Straw is another one that's on Shudder. It just came out a couple weeks ago. It's an okay. I don't know that I'd necessarily recommend it. It reminded me a lot of other things that I had seen over the past couple years. It's about this again, like mid-20s woman. She's a waitress working at a diner kind of in the middle of nowhere, and she is forced to work a double, and she's closing out for the night, and these people show up in masks and start terrorizing her. And there's like a couple twists and turns in it. One of them I really do not like. I don't know that I'd really recommend it, but it's on Shudder if you want to check that one out. It's What's Inside. Got around to watching that on Netflix. Heard a lot of good things about that. And yeah, that is a fun movie
Good.
to
Okay.
watch.
Oh, I need to put that one on the list too.
The editing
Do
in
it.
that movie is like
Right?
insanity, man.
It could
Like,
skate by on that alone, quality wise.
yeah, it's
It
worth
really
watching
could.
for the editing alone. I definitely think.
Okay.
About a group of, there's a theme here. Probably late 20s, getting together, a group of friends. They hadn't seen each other for a while. One of them's getting married, so they get together at their rich friend's like mansion, and they're drinking and doing drugs and having a good time. And there's some sci-fi stuff that happens that I don't want to spoil, but some weird shit happens at the party. Pretty cool. Had a good time with that. Also watched a movie called The Vortilac, and this is on Amazon Prime, I think, if I remember correctly. And this, man, I cannot remember the country of origin. It might be French too. I can't remember exactly. I watched it a couple weeks ago. But it's about this family that they believe that their father has become a Vortilac, which is a type of vampire. I'd never heard that word before
Oh.
until this movie. But the interesting thing about it is when you see the creature, it's like a giant puppet. It's not like a person wearing makeup, but it's just a puppet. It's weird, but they treat it as like they're talking to it as it's like a real person. And it does look creepy and like I don't know. It's just very it feels pretty original. Like the story itself is like, you've probably seen stuff like it before, but the way they treat the creature is feels very original to me. That was a different, interesting movie. Blink Twice, I checked that out. I know a lot of people are hating on it. I thought it was okay. I enjoyed
Which
it for
one?
the
I'm sorry.
most.
Blink
Blink
twice.
Twice.
Oh, Blink twice.
Blink deuce.
Blink deuce on your asses. Zoe Kravitz, her directorial debut, I believe it is, um, about this like mega millionaire who's got an island that he takes a lot of pretty ladies to, and gives them all the drugs and booze in the world, and they party, and turns out horrible things happen. The ending is stupid, I think, but overall, I still felt the movie was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I would generally give that one a recommendation. Um, Finally, Strange Darling. I finally got around to watching that. Really recommend that one. It is a movie that opens up with like text on the screen, and it's like this movie is about a serial killer who killed X number of people in like 2006 or whatever the year was. Um, and it's a story told in 6 chapters, and then it starts off with like chapter 5, and it jumps, all around. It's a non-linear story. It reminded me of like Pulp Fiction or something. The way the story is kind of told to you. As it concludes, it turns out to be a fairly straightforward plot, but the acting is incredible. Kyle Gallner is the creepy dude in the movie. The female actress, I believe, is Fitzgerald, I think is her name. They both
Yeah,
do incredible jobs.
she was in House
Um,
of Usher as well.
I did not
She
know
was
that.
she was the
Nice.
younger. God, I forget the matriarch as the younger
Oh, yeah,
woman.
yeah.
Nice. Um, Really cool movie though. I recommend that one. if you have not seen it. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. I know it's on disc. You could probably rent it. It's probably like a $5 rental or something. Good shit. Great cinematography. Couple twisties in there. Worth watching. I mean, that's going to do it for your boy, Bob.
Damn, we had a lot to catch up on there.
Yeah, yeah. We do have 3 voicemails this week, so let's go ahead and get into our hotline screams.
Hotline scream.
If you guys are listening and would like to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. First up, we're going to hear from Lou. Let's hear what she's got to say.
Hi, it's Lou. I just wanted to call and say how thankful I am to you guys and the awesome community you've built in the Slack, and everybody's amazing. Nosferatu comes out on the 1st over here, so I suppose that when I'm listening to this, I'm hopefully going to see it because I got my tickets booked for the 1st. And just want to wish you all a very happy new year, and I look forward to another great year of horror, and love you all. Tra.
Concise and incredibly sweet. Thank you, Lou.
Yeah,
Yes, thank
very
you.
nice. Very nice.
It's always wild for me to think that there's people like all around the world listening to us.
Yeah. They're making a huge tactical error with their time on this
wild.
earth, but I
Is
appreciate
this-
every second of it.
Just paying forward into your God complex there, Juice. All these people around the world. Are
Sometimes I doubt
listening.
myself, but then I remember all these people around the world hang on every word I say.
See, that's where
I-
you're wrong, Randy, because I never doubt myself.
Silly.
Time
silly
to
little
launch
Vito
that
assume.
sex cult.
Time. Whoa, I mean, we're in full swing.
We're already a laundering unit for Juice's sex cult.
You guys aren't invited yet.
Oh, fuck.
I think I just watched a movie about you. It's called Blink Twice. Check it out. Yeah, thanks for calling, Lou. Very good to hear from you, and I hope you had a really lovely, happy, safe New Year. Also, dude, like, I'm Americans with like Irish accents, British accents, like, love it. Love the accent. Sounds great.
Americans with Irish accent?
Yeah, we love that shit, right? Am I not
Yeah, we
speaking
do.
for
No, you're
everyone?
But
Okay.
the way you phrase that, it makes it sound like an American with an Irish accent.
Yeah, an American has the
Oh.
Irish accent.
Oh no, we
Does
love
not
to
make
hear.
a lick of sense.
Okay,
We like
I
the
gotcha.
accent.
Oh,
is what
shut
what I
up,
mean to
Alex.
say.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
not what I'm talking about, Randy. That's not. We don't love that. Next up, we're gonna hear from the librarian. Let's hear what she's got to say.
Hey boys, who's ready to get top? That's right, it's my top 5 2024 movies. Drum roll, please. Coming in at number 5 with 4.5 stars, Nosferatu. Who is gonna bite me in the sternum? That is what I want to know. Number 4 with 4.5 stars, Love Lies Bleeding. This would have been a 5-star movie if there wasn't a shit shot in the first 10 fucking minutes. Regardless, I love queer people doing queer shit. Third place with 5 stars. I saw the TV Glow. Saw it both times that I saw it in theaters. Once again, I love queer people doing queer shit. Number 2 with 5 stars. Challengers. I need 2 boyfriends like I need oxygen. That's my review. Send tweet. Anyway, and number 1, drumroll please for the last time. Are we shocked? It's The Substance. Are we shocked? Are we shocked? No. I think that's it. That's my list. Have a happy new year. Keep chilling. Bye!
Man, who could have seen The Substance coming on that? Real dark horse
surprise.
on the librarian's list there. Man.
Also,
She's
love
seen it.
hearing from my sisters. Like, is the rest of the girls from the Slack gonna call in? Can we do
Yeah,
that?
apparently.
What a treat
We
for
bring
me.
all the girls to the yard. You know what I'm saying? We got a sex cult leader here. We got the moves.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, librarian has seen The Substance 6 times in the theater or something.
Oh.
Something insane.
Maybe
Yeah.
more
My
at this
God.
point.
And that's
I
a
think
long
she-
movie.
It is.
It's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of hours, and I think she contributed $1 million to the domestic gross of that movie
Oh
or
my
something.
lord.
All
Proud
right.
of you.
Yeah.
That's a solid list. Yeah. Thank you for
Pretty
topping
good.
us. Good shit. Except for the challengers. I'm gonna poo-poo the challengers personally. I thought it was a little boring. But
Oh. No, with poo
Not
poo is
enough
endless bleeding.
sex. Not enough orgies.
there wasn't
Said
really.
Bob.
I thought I expected a lot more orgies in that.
Orgy.
Light. A
A
light.
minimum of 7. That's what I
Yeah.
expect.
Yes, to put a number on it, yes. Thanks for calling, librarian. Always good to hear from you. Next up, we're hearing from the one, the only, Hugh Janus.
Oh.
Yeah, Hugh calling. I hope everyone had a good holiday season. After the tornadoes we had earlier this year, I was kind of hoping just for 2024 to be over. But the Friday before New Year's Day, the place where I work, the office and warehouse part of the building burnt to the ground. No one was injured. Everyone's fine. So I guess that's the bright side of it. But onward and upward. I've already grabbed the year 2025 by the throat, and I'm forcing it to stare down Hugh Janus. Late congratulations on episode 500. Since then, you guys have been on fire. As I posted on Slack, episode 501, The Gray, is Hall of Fame worthy. Since the 500th episode, I don't know if it's because you guys got your second wind or you've just given up. Whatever the reason, keep it up. The shows have been hilarious. Watched the 6 movies that were on last month's poll. All were pretty good. Liked them a lot. I also went to the theater and I saw Nosferatu and the sequel, Nosferatu. Enjoyed it a lot. A little while back, you had a prompt on best and worst Christmas gift you'd ever gotten. The worst Christmas gift I ever got was in 1936. I got a round-trip tickets to Europe. The reason it's the worst Christmas gift ever, the return trip was on the Hindenburg. The best Christmas gift I ever got was in 1933. I got glow-in-the-dark Christmas ornaments from Madame Marie Curie. I had an outside question for Soju. He had mentioned on a show that he had watched a cooking show called Class Rivalries or something, a South Korean cooking show. I watched that show and I just wondered, it seemed to me like the judges on that show took enormous bites of everything they were eating. I don't know if that's a Korean thing or what, but that caught my attention. That's about all. We've got, when you have the top 10 show, I'll try to call back in and give out the Janus Award for this year for best comment. Haven't decided yet. It's been a tough year. You guys have, like I said, you guys have been on fire. That's about all I've got. I hope everyone out there has a...
And we cut him off there.
Ran out of time.
Really good to hear from you, Hugh. I was, as far as why we might be, if we're on fire now, that's great. And my only speculation is that it's because we're not stacking like 4 episodes in a week to get ahead of the game anymore.
The relief, just the pure relief.
We gave up.
We're actually giving ourselves some break time.
Or that, just our minds have given up and have gone insane after the year we just had.
We just got broken in half, and that's what you're hearing on this recording.
This is another episode. This is our 5th today.
It is kind of crazy to think we've done 10 shows since episode 500 already. That much time has gone by is insane.
Well, some of those, like 3 of them, we recorded like fucking July or some shit. So, yeah.
In 2023, we recorded episode 500.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, thanks for calling. You sounds like you had a rough year.
Yeah,
Man,
sorry.
definitely sorry to hear it. But it does sound like you have not lost your sense of humor or excellent comedic timing, brother. So good on you. Onward and upward, like you said.
Yeah.
And yeah, please do call in next week. Actually, we're doing our top 10 show for 2024. So please do call in and let us know who's receiving the Hugh Janus Award 904 638 3231. Any other prompts you guys want to throw out for next week?
Well, I was going to answer Janus's question. So
Oh yeah.
on Culinary Class Wars, there is one challenge where the I remember the judges are blindfolded, so they have people feeding them. That's
Kinky.
the only time I remember them having to like sometimes take really big bites because they couldn't really like see the food that was in front of them.
Hell yeah.
But otherwise, that's definitely not something that like I've noticed on the show or in Korea in general, or like an existing stereotype that I know about. So I don't.
Let's make one.
Let's
should get one
You
going.
know, Koreans, they really
They just slam their food in like two bites.
Too few stereotypes about the Korean people, I say.
Getting off
they
real
really
easy
need some
these days.
more.
Yeah, I've never seen that show, but I don't know. I could imagine
It's really
people just-
good. I ended up finishing it, and it was a really fun show.
Yeah.
I like cooking competition shows though.
Yeah,
But to the prompt,
I like some.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Oh
sorry.
no, yeah, go ahead, Randy. The prompt.
To the
yeah.
prompt, I think that people, if we have a favorite comment for the year, I'm definitely interested to hear that. You guys want to talk to us about us? Give us a call. Have a
Or your
conversation
favorite,
about me, please.
we can always do like favorite episode. A lot of people have complimented the Gray. We were a little delirious on that one. We were just like
Shouts outs to Lou, by the way, for picking that. That was her new pick.
yeah. So but yeah,
Actually, like,
do you have a favorite episode from this past year, or
What do you want to see from us this year? Like anything new or anything?
give
you
us
want us to say?
ideas? We're
Please
out of
stop
them.
We're fucking out.
Yeah.
We have nowhere else to turn to.
If we're reaching a Simpsons point where we just need to close the shutters, then let us know.
So I don't have
Yeah.
a prompt, but I have a comment. When I was watching The Great Gatsby, I had forgotten Jason Clarke is in that movie. And I was
Oh,
like,
shit.
there he is, punchable face Clark. And I thought of you guys. So
Start wailing on the screen.
yeah, that
Ah.
prompt keeps coming back. So
I've
that'll
broken
be
3
mine.
TVs because of that, man.
Oh, gave me a
Cinema
chuckle.
Bill. Yeah, that's a good one.
He does have a punchable face. God damn.
He does. He
Telling
kinda
ya.
does. He kind of does. Yeah, hit us up 904-638-3231. Favorite moment of the year, favorite show of the year. What would you like for us to do this year, 2025? Something new, something different,
Something old.
something blue, something whatever.
Bring
You want
back
something.
Screamin' and Creamin'. Bring it
Oh,
back.
my
And Jews,
figure.
you
Now
got
that
a
I've reached
house
my
that-
mid-20s, I just can't support
have-
that kind of
I-
eating anymore.
I have
Too
an
much
ice
dairy.
cream maker in my home. I could take over the mantle.
Whoa,
maybe,
Randy.
Ooh.
But, call in and endorse or reject that idea.
As long as you eat it blindfolded while on screen.
Big bite.
Oh, this is not the OnlyFans, Bob. You got to pay extra for that shit.
Kinky
Okay.
Bob over here.
No.
Somebody feed me. Yeah, that's gonna do it for us this week. Like I said, we're doing our top 10 show next week. We're talking about 2024, reflecting on the good stuff, the bad stuff, honorable mentions.
Next week, oh my lord. I
All
got
of it.
about 20 movies I gotta get through. Oh my god.
Dude, it'll be so easy.
Oh my God.
We got it.
Oh.
Nicole, thanks again so much for sitting in with us. Super fun conversation.
For sure.
It's always a good time having you on. Why don't you remind folks about where they can find your podcast just one more time?
Yeah, so I am Light and Shadow, a horror podcast. You can find me on whatever your favorite podcatcher is. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Light and Shadow Pod. And yeah, thanks for inviting me on. It's always fun to like nerd out about a very particular horror niche, and always happy to talk about a little religion and horror. And this was kind of a perfect way for me to cap off and before I move on to something new on my own show. So, yeah, thanks so much for thinking of me, and I always enjoy being here. I never take for granted you guys' friendship and your generosity inviting me into your space all these years. So, thanks, guys.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you,
We're very, very
Nicole.
happy
real
that you
nice.
put up with our bullshit time and time
For
again.
I
sticking
welcome it.
around.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Check out Light and Shadow everywhere you get your podcasts. We're everywhere on the social medias. Just search Straight Chilling Podcast and we'll pop right up. If you do want to join in our daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on social media and I'll send you a link so you can do so. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
I can't believe Jesus called me a dick!
Damn.